Anne-Louise, good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you for joining me this morning.
Thank you for asking.
I've been looking forward for our session. It's not very often where I get to talk to someone freely and openly about everyday's life. Nothing special, it's just what you do, what we do. A few questions, 7 to be exact. First one is greatest achievement in your life this far, other than Ian and the boys?
Other than Ian and the boys.
I thought I could hear first.
So it would have been a cliche answer about the 3 boys. Greatest achievement. Okay, I've done a number of things in my life. So I trained as a teacher, worked in industry, worked in an educational setting for industry, set up a cafe at a school for grade 9 students, and then actually did a postgrad uni course in genealogical studies. So I would have to say some of the research assignments that I've done for people, they would have to be some of my greatest achievements, I think, apart from family.
Amazing. Can you give us an example on how that works?
So in researching, so in genealogical studies, you're looking at people's births, deaths, marriages, where they were living, the social scenes, what life was like, where they moved from, and coming from Australia, you've got obviously a population multicultural, absolutely. So some of the greatest ones I've done, there was a fellow who, he was born in Scotland, his grandmother had his father in France, illegitimately. He had been trying to trace who his grandfather was and what his proper surname should have been for a number of years. And this guy's in his 70s, he's about 78 now. He'd paid somebody in France, he'd paid somebody in England, and without going through all the story, I was doing a commission for a company in Edinburgh, and they asked me to do the Australian component of it. And through numerous, okay, where do I look? I found a will in Victoria that had this supposed surname, male heirs in the will.
Wow.
And then managed to track living people from that down in New Zealand. And by this time, this guy was living in Queensland, so it was all around the world. This guy went to New Zealand, he already had his Y DNA, so the male part of DNA done. He got one of the male guys from this supposed family, and they were an absolute match.
Wow.
And so that was probably one of my greatest. So there's a number of them, but it just gives you a wonderful feeling. Wonderful feeling to know that you've helped someone finally find out for sure where they come from. And I've had a number of those.
Amazing. I'm going to forget the rest of the questions. Let's just focus on this. This is very interesting for me, at least. Yeah. Excellent. Thank you. If you could choose, what's the ideal place for you to be residing?
I don't think it would matter what country I lived in, as long as they were English speaking, because unfortunately I have English and very little other dialect. But it would have to be somewhere rural. I grew up on a farm, so I still have country girl in me.
Nice.
I would like to live close enough to somewhere where you've still got nice restaurants and still got the amenities, your hospitals and things like that. But I definitely love to live somewhere with a little bit of land. I have some animals, have my vegetable patch.
I can relate to that.
And we did live in a place like that about 25 years ago. Lovely little place in Victoria. We had a few acres and vegetable patch, animals, ducks, chooks.
You had me interested until you said Victoria, being a South Australian.
So I say Victoria, but I am a New South Welshman at heart. So I actually grew up in country New South Wales in the central west.
Amazing.
So about 4 hours west of Sydney.
Excellent part of the world.
Yeah, on a farm.
Talk about possessions. What would be the most treasured possession?
We're going to go back to okay. My most treasured possessions. You could be a cliche answer again and say some jewellery, but I'm not that sort of person. I would have to say the genealogical studies, I'm sorry we're getting into that again, that I've done on our own family. So I've been researching for probably, since I was a little girl, to be honest, but seriously for probably the last 20 odd years. Family history, certificates, stories, contacts, photographs, bits of memorabilia, all of those sorts of things.
It's like mapping really, isn't it?
Absolutely. It's a big giant jigsaw puzzle is how I would describe it.
Does it ever end? Is it
No, never ends. And look, fortunately for me, because a lot of people that have been family history buffs for a long time, they have had to go into the research centres and visit places, where I've been fortunate that the course I did was all online. So I learnt where all the online resources were. So everything I do is online. It's very rare that I will have to go and purchase a certificate to actually get to the next step. I have done that recently for somebody here, but it didn't get me anywhere.
So the online route is really the easiest for you, at least.
And every day, so I could research something today, and in 2 or 3 days' time, I will probably find something else associated with that.
It's mind-boggling, really, if you think about it, the amount of information, data that we have access to now, just on a click of a button.
Exactly. Yeah. And look, a lot of people don't care. They say, I live for now. I don't know what happened in the past, but it's a lovely feeling, know what your ancestors did before you, and how you got to be where you are, and the interests that you have.
We have a weakness in my family in that front. My father passed away before I was born, and sadly, that whole subject has always been a taboo. We never talk about it. I'm not even out of 10. I'm not even at 1 finding out. I haven't even met my grandparents on my father's side.
In the last, since COVID started, in the last 8 months, I've done probably 4 mini sort of studies for people, and the conversation has started exactly like that. I don't even know what my grandfather's name is. I know him as Grandpa Smith, or Grandpa Wilson, and that's it. I don't even know what their names are.
I can relate to that. I can relate to that.
So I've just given someone a family tree that was 5.3 metres long. Not every page, so A4 pages stuck together. Not every page had information on it, but by the time you do the layers, there was 11 different generations. By the time you do the layers, that's how long the family chart was.
So 500 years or something?
No, that's only 11. Each generation we say is 25 years.
Or 25 for a generation.
Yeah. So we're back to about 1760 for that particular person.
Still, it's amazing information. Before you discovered this, shall I say, inquisitive side of you, and going back in history, what captivated your interest, and what did you excel at in life from an occupational point of view?
So I trained as a home economics teacher, so many years ago, so the old traditional cooking and sewing teacher. But when I finished university in New South Wales, we moved to Victoria. So moving from the New South Wales system to the Victorian system was a little bit tricky back then. So I actually got a job at SPC, which is where my husband actually started as well. So we both started our careers working at SPC, so that's Shepherd and Preserving Company at Cannery in Shepparton. I started on the factory floor sorting peaches and did not like it one little bit, and told my husband I didn't go to university to do that. But eventually I got moved into research and development and quality assurance. So of all the jobs I've done, taking genealogy aside, doing research and development and quality assurance in companies was amazing. So research and development in terms of food products, playing around with different ingredients, what can actually work, what can be canned, what can't stay sterile in a can. And look, canning technology is a little bit archaic now. Food has moved a lot further.
Absolutely.
But still, playing around with food and what you can actually do with it and what you can make work. I really enjoy doing that. For the last 2 weeks, I've actually been playing around with sourdough making bread.
When do you sleep?
No, I sleep. So that part of working life I also really enjoy.
Incredible. Again, another inquisitive silo, right? So you like to discover and find. Is that how I'm reading it?
Yes.
Colleagues, friends. What is it that you look at a friend of yours and you say, I value that characteristic as a person?
I'm probably more a listener than a talker. But in my friends, I like someone that will actually listen to. So similar values. I like loyalty. Don't like to be used by people. Not that rarely happens. I like to have the same interests, fun characteristics, enjoy each other's company, and not judge people. And trustworthy and honest, I'd say.
Amazing characteristics. And look, I think we all look for people that are like us in a way that we feel comfortable and confident with engaging with them. For me, in this part of the world, again, it's about learning. It's finding out more about how does your culture impact your life? How does my culture impact your life, and vice versa?
Yes, and that's been good too. Learning different cultures here, and then things that you're actually you have common, even though you're from perhaps completely different cultures, but you still have the common decency and values, things like that.
Who would be your favourite writer?
Absolutely Ken Follett. Ken Follett he's about 71 now, I believe. He's Welsh, and he grew up in a home of Plymouth Brethrens, and he had no television, no access to sort of outside media. So he developed a love for reading. He moved from Cardiff to London, became a journalist, and then I think from there he became a publisher and started writing. So my most favourite book is Pillars of the Earth by him. I think he's written something like 160,000 million copies of books over his time. So Pillars of the Earth, World Without End, all those sorts of things. So he writes historical books, so again going back to history, a little bit of spy work, and a little bit of intrigue. So he's that sort of writer. So some of his books are about history, and the others are about spies and thrillers and things like that.
Again, you're circling back to the same old.
Yeah, same sorts of genre. Yeah.
So a biggie for you, and again, really, we all get up in the morning and we have an agenda with knowing, without knowing, but every day there's a thread that is resembling every other day, and that's the motto. What is your motto in life?
I've probably got two, I would say. One of them is, it would be, if you say you're going to do something, then do it. It really annoys me if tradesmen, people like that, they say they're going to do something, they're going to turn up at such and such a time, and they don't turn up. And there's a whole heap of examples I could give you, but that would absolutely be one of them. If you say you're going to do it, then please do it. And the other one would be, do it right first time. And I suppose that comes back to a little bit of the quality background that I had early on in my career. So I would also say if you can't do it right first time, then keep trying until you can do it right. But definitely try and do it right first time.
So it's about discipline, really.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah.
Amazing. Anne-Louise, thank you so much for joining me this morning. It's been very enlightening. We need to do V2, take two on the topic that really matters to you. It sounds very interesting, at least for me. And I'm sure a lot of people would love to know their roots in life and where they came from and who was responsible, accountable, and made us the people we are.
Yeah. So, and I've also helped people to actually do their own research. So, because a lot of people don't know where to look. So
I'm sure it's a difficult one. Where do you start? Where do you finish? Where do you look? Where don't you look? Again, pleasure having you with me this morning.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for joining me.